like to thank you for your presentation as well. I suppose, first of all, just in regard to the TB eradication programme, maybe some of the similar questions, perhaps from a slightly different perspective from yourselves, being very much, I suppose, the foot soldiers on the ground in regard to TB eradication and what's happening there. One of the issues is the average length of time for reactors to be removed from a farm. I think it's about 4 weeks. It seems to be quite a long time, and I'd like to get your views in respect to that. Also, in regard to the issues around vaccinations, what's your view on that? How do you feel that this thing of vaccinating the wildlife is going to work, or how can it work, or will it be a programme that's doable, that's sensible, that can actually be applied in a uniform fashion across the country? The presentation you mentioned about the huge level of work that the whole veterinary practitioners across the country do for rural Ireland and for the farming community in general, and I think that has to be acknowledged. I remember Pat Gallagher in Mohill and Tim Mulligan in Arva and all lads like that were characters in their own sense in rural Ireland and brought huge sense of I suppose they were people that rural Ireland depended on in difficult times, and now they have been replaced with the more modern veterinary practices and all that, but still the same sense of depending on your vet. If anything goes wrong on the farm, you lift the phone and you ring the vet, and they're there. There's no messing. A neighbour of mine said recently they brought the dog to the vet, and the dog got more tests done in a half an hour in the vet that you'd wait 3 years for to get in a hospital if you went yourself for them. And it's that type of service, I think, is something that needs to be acknowledged. And I do have fears, and I share the fears that have been stated by yourselves in regard to the corporate element coming into it. And we see that in other sectors, where it becomes like, I suppose, the pharmaceutical industry, or the pharmacies, not the pharmaceutical. The pharmacies is one of them, like what we have Boots and all these other chemists and chains and all of that coming into play. And I don't think, certainly from the point of view of the agricultural community, it would be a positive thing. I think it would be a very negative thing if that were to go down that route, and I would support the call you're making to ensure that doesn't happen, and that we maintain the type of relationship that people in rural Ireland has with the veterinary practice is something I think it's absolutely essential. The other work that continues to be done, of course, as mentioned, in regard to in the factories and in the various places around the country where vets do work. I'd just like a little bit of detail in regard to that. How is that contracted? How do vets get those? What way does that work? How does that system work? Because I've had a few people saying, you know, they're a little bit annoyed sometimes that they don't get enough work in there as they would get normally, and they feel that it's kind of boxed off for someone, not for everyone. And you know, I'd just like to get your views in regard to that in the various factories as to how that happens for some younger vets that might like to get a share of it, that don't seem to get that, and why that is, and can you maybe throw a little bit of light on that? Also, in regard to and going back to the TB issues, the herds that are in the closed systems where they have TB, it's known to have TB, and they're left there to be finished and brought to the factory without being traded outside of that. I'd like to get your views on that. I'd also like to get your views in regard to the accuracy of the testing and the issue of the deer, which is something that's more and more farmers are pointing in that direction as being what they see as one, not saying the source, but certainly that they're still there. Your test goes down, the reactors are taken away, a couple of months later everything is okay, but there's still deer in the vicinity. They're not taken away, they're still there. And are they maintaining the infection and spreading it? Thank you, Chairman.
Deputy Conlon.